Contingency timeframes. Here's what you need to know. Once you go into contract, until contingencies are removed or satisfied, you need to think about a few things. So we're in contract. This is exciting, but don't get too excited. We still have to go through the contingency timeframes. The buyer now will secure their loan, have their inspections on their property, and review all of the reports and disclosures. This typically takes anywhere between 7 to 20 days, depending on what was initially agreed upon in the contract. In some cases, when you're dealing with a very desirable home that has multiple offers, we can negotiate for there to be no contingencies. Yes, love that. But this depends on what the market is like. A house on Queen Anne Hill in Seattle might be very different than a house in Stanwood or Arlington. A new construction condo downtown might be different than a townhouse in Linwood. During the contingency timeframes, the buyer can back out of the home if they're not happy with anything they discover on any of the reports, disclosures, inspections that they've done. After reviewing the reports and having inspections, this is the time when a buyer would be asking for things to be repaired. They may ask for financing credits, all kinds of things. Speaking from experience, I have a few tricks up my sleeve. Maybe a home warranty program for the buyer or a contractor quote on hand can be of value in this situation. But nonetheless, the buyer has also the option of backing out of this transaction at this point. Maybe buyer and seller can't agree on items that were requested to be fixed. What if the appraiser does not like the price we agreed on in our contract and the appraisal report comes back $20,000 less? And we cannot come up with a mutual agreement about what to do, then the buyer can choose to back out on that as well. You need to understand that if a home doesn't appraise for the contracted amount, the lender will only lend on the appraised value, and obviously take into consideration what the buyer is qualified for. Any additional money required would need to be made up by the buyer or seller. Seller would have to agree to adjust their price. Again, the buyer has the right to back out of the home and they can get their earnest money back at this point. So now listen, there's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot of extra steps we can take, clauses we can add to the paperwork, additional forms that can be used at this time. We do our best to protect sellers in these situations, but it's something that you need to be aware of. This is why it's essential to hire an agent like myself who knows how to properly vet a buyer, take the extra steps to get the most solid offer possible, and have the right conversations and ask the right questions to the buyer's agent and lender ahead of time. The buyer's earnest money deposit is only at risk if they've officially removed all of their contingencies. So I always advise my clients not to pack their bags until all of their contingencies have been removed. Be sure to get the contingencies removed as soon as possible and stay within contractual timeframes as much as possible. This is important for both buyer and seller. Once contingencies have been removed, well, now you get a little relief and a little insurance that the home sale will go through. You should be moving soon. Yay! Watch below to see what happens next and what to expect, and feel free to personally reach out so we can get in touch and get in more detail with you about your situation. We can find out what your needs are so that we know how best to properly serve and advise you based on your specific circumstance. I'm Michelle Maiers, your favorite real estate broker.